أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله نحمده ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه. Assalamu alaikum, friends, family, and strangers on YouTube. And if you are somebody going through some form of trouble, hardship, pain, sickness, problems in any other form, which you feel is insurmountable and which you feel is very difficult for you to overcome, then I think this talk is especially for you. I want to highlight in this discussion the idea of Sabr or endurance as it is set out in the Holy Quran. Now, Sabr, the Arabic word Sabr, is a very difficult word to translate from Arabic to English. So we use the term endurance, but it's more than just endurance. Sabr means endurance with a mission. It is endurance with acceptance, and endurance with a goal in mind. So in other words, it is perseverance with the understanding and with the knowledge that there is a goal to be achieved. And so it is not the same as a pointless form of patience or a pointless form of taking punishment. In other words, being a glutton for punishment. It's far, far, far from that. That's got no relation to that. Sabr in the words in the Quran is about enduring towards achieving a particular goal. And what I want to offer you today is an article that I wrote quite a while back, and I think it's very relevant. And having some friends and so on that I found that had been going through tough times, I thought, let me publish this once again, and maybe they or anyone else might benefit from it. So let me show you this article. I'll simply show it on the screen, and then I'll read through it. And then you're welcome to, I will add maybe some explanation, but you can go and visit the site and you can read the article also there. But, sometimes we enjoy watching the video rather than to look at the site. So let me quickly show you this article. It's the heading Sabr, enduring as a means of spiritual elevation, because that's really what it is all about. For the mu'min, for the Quran believer, for the Muslim, Sabr is a tool. It is like you find in Kung Fu. Endurance plays a big role there. It builds character, it strengthens the spirit, it strengthens the soul. And in our deen, or in our worldview, Sabr is just another means of strengthening the spirit and the character. Let me take you through it. A little explained concept from the Quran is the concept of Sabr. That's why I introduce it like that. It is often narrowly translated as patience, but this translation does little to explain the deeper meaning. Every injunction in the book of Allah holds profound benefit and enrichment, and we therefore need to explore the profound benefit and enrichment that the concept of Sabr holds. So I will set out the dilemma that every individual faces as part of a broader society, which will then make it easier to understand the concept of Sabr. We all enter the world with a unique set of gifts from Allah. Most of us have our health, the love of our family, financial provisions, and more. Although we all receive a healthy set of bestowments from Allah, we never receive it all. No person can claim to have every possible need and desire fulfilled. This deficit is important though. It is these deficits that cause us various types of pain and inconvenience. It is the deficit of finances, health, justice, love, and other needs that the human is stirred. It is through these deficits that we are stirred into reflection and thinking. So hardship, suffering, problems causes a heightened level of reflection. we are actually stirred into greater reflection and pondering and thinking. If we had to be perfectly endowed with absolutely no pain or inconvenience, we would become sedentary and docile creatures lacking any personal reflectiveness. Think about that for a second. That's a that's the point I want to first make, is that pain, hardship, suffering and problems, they cause the mind to go into overdrive, because as we suffer physically, we are contemplating and we are scheming and we are devising ways of overcoming the pain, and we question our surroundings and we question our behavior and we question our decisions simply because of the physical suffering that we are having to endure. So the first point I'm making is that it is this deficit. You run out of money, you run out of wealth, you run out of social fulfillment. You're a lonely person, you are desperate financially, you are sick, you are whatever, and that stirs you into becoming a more reflective person. All people suffer some form of deprivation. That's very important, is that no human being has a perfectly provided for existence. The human's first response to deprivation is to work to undo the affliction. We work harder, we eat healthier, we improve our behavior, all for the sake of reversing financial, health and social afflictions. This posture of direct remedial action is very much highlighted in the Quran. Numerous verses tell people to change their social conditions and to change their behavior for the sake of improving their lives and the general state of society. This form of deprivation therefore results in social and personal improvement and adds the element of social and personal dynamism to the society of the mu'mineen. Now let me just stop there again. I want to leave. That's a very, very crucial point to this article. It says that when you suffer an affliction, you lose your health because of your own actions. Society becomes difficult because of the actions of an oppressive power or oppressors in society, or financially you go down and you suffer financially, or any form of suffering will first of all lead you to ponder and reflect. And the first point, the next point that I make there in this article, is that you then go into action challenging the problem. So you then go ahead challenging. If there's an oppressor, you go on the defensive. You work to undo the oppression. If it's something that you yourself is causing, for example, you drink too much or you smoke too much or you eat too much, then you yourself need to take the necessary remedial action. So that pondering and reflection will lead you to social action or personal action, which is also highlighted in the Holy Quran. So that element of dynamism is added there. But let me continue. There are, however, unfortunately, forms of deprivation that cannot be overcome by personal and social action or activism or struggle or whatever form of mitigation. It is in such cases that sabr or enduring becomes necessary. Sabr, enduring, entails an acceptance of and resignation to Allah's will and a temporary need to endure. So you have experienced the difficulty, the hardship, maybe loss of health. You've tried to remedy it by whatever actions you could take, go to the doctor, take medicine, do more exercise, whatever the case may be, and still the problem persists and you run out of ideas. And then we say here, the Quran say, it is in such cases that enduring becomes your option. Sabr or enduring entails an acceptance of and resignation to Allah's will and a temporary need to endure. So our mindset then as people who are of the Sabirin, those who sabr, is then that you accept that there is a greater purpose to the pain. The pain has a greater purpose, or the hardship has got a greater purpose, and you then lock into your faith and your trust to Almighty Allah. So then I wrote here, Sabr entails acceptance. Sorry, next line. What does this endurance and acceptance mean? Allah says, quote, and we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and the loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give good tidings to those who sabr. Close quotes. Quran 2, 155. For the mu'min, for the person who endorses the Quran and Islam and acknowledges the supreme creator and Allah of the universe, for the mu'min, endurance is a deeply spiritual stance wherein he or she comes to terms with the need to endure the pain and suffering which they are experiencing. In that case, this is the way we think about it. Every moment of pain is a moment with Allah and for Allah to the mu'min. The mindset of the afflicted person is that regardless of the pain, that Allah cares and Allah loves him without bounds and open the doors of forgiveness while he is afflicted with that pain, and benefits in the afterlife to that suffering person as a recompense for that suffering. All earthly suffering has an end point. It has a goal, which could be recovery or, unfortunately, death. The terminally ill and suffering person's sabr entails acceptance and the bright prospect of gaining full recompense in the afterlife for their pain and suffering. Now, that's a very, very difficult and hard pill to swallow for the non-affirmer of Allah in the Quran. You see, because what is needed here is a worldview, a paradigm, a transcendent paradigm is required. If your paradigm is only that you live here and you die, then this explanation does not make sense. The paradigm of the Quran and of the believer in the supreme creator of the universe is that life continues, and this suffering, it might not have a benefit on this earth, but the benefit could be deferred into the point beyond this life. And so when you are truly dedicated and committed to the creator of the universe, when your heart is connected, when your soul is connected to the Almighty, then the body and the pains and the torment and the hardship that it suffers becomes less. It becomes almost insignificant if your faith and if your love for the divine is of a certain level. And I remind you of the story of Job, Ayub in the Quran, who was probably the most afflicted person by bad health, poor finances, loss of family, etc., and who was the bastion or the doyen of Sabr. Every moment of pain is a moment of Allah. Right? So that is how we should think about it. It is in this moment of defeat and resignation that the true affirmer of Allah, the mu'min, feels the pity of his beloved creator the most. It is in this moment that the mu'min ponders deep thoughts about the purpose of life and develops the sincere hope of a hereafter where he will reap the rewards for the seeming injustice that he experiences. This type of affliction and deprivation is therefore an affliction that allows for a powerful form of spiritual elevation. Physical pain is, of course, but one form of suffering and affliction that may require sabr. There are other examples such as emotional pain from the loss of a child, or social pain or loneliness brought about by absence of family or friends. In such chronic affliction lies the potential for sabr as a route to spiritual elevation. So, sabr therefore means enduring temporarily for the sake of Allah and to undergo spiritual elevation while enduring the pain. In that moment of sabr, we are given a chance to become spiritually closer to Allah, as well as attract the status and favors in the hereafter. An atheist once asked, if God is so great, why can't he create a world without suffering? My response to the question is to take the example of gravity. We all suffer as a result of gravity. I mean, how many of us have not fallen to the ground off a bicycle or just while walking? And we can blame gravity. Gravity also causes us to be tired when we walk. It also causes injuries from death, if you should fall or if the plane should crash. But imagine a world without gravity. In space, for example, there is no gravity. But because there is no gravity, no house can be built, no two or more persons can interact in a stable way. Everything is in flux and floating on its own course. You can't build a house, you can't have a family, you cannot have a conversation, you cannot even yourself sleep on a bed. It's impossible. You cannot, because you will just drift off. Everything is in flux. Gravity provides a stable structure and an environment for life to be enjoyed. Gravity means order and structure, and that order and structure unfortunately comes at a cost to the individual. The example of gravity can be extrapolated to the broader creation of Allah. Because Allah has created a structure with lofty aims, there is unfortunately a cost at an individual level which comes in the form of temporary pain and deprivation. In summary then, all of us experience deprivation in some or other form. Our primary reaction must be to apply activism to reverse the deprivation. So I'm not saying today that you sabr when you experience hardship. No, the Quranic way, the way of Islam is when you experience pain and hardship, our primary reaction must be to apply activism to end the problem. Should we be unable to change the problem with activism or with migration, in other words, going away, moving away, we must make the conscious choice to temporarily endure out of loyalty and devotion to Allah and to look forward to a future benefit. Although sabr does not take the pain away, it does give the pain purpose and therefore value. If you are a person suffering emotional or physical pain and have tried and pondered all avenues of escape to no avail, then choose sabr. Accept what you have been given, endure the pain, place yourself completely in the hands of the Ar-Rahman, the master of all fortunes. Let the pain consume your heart and your body, but let it not consume your soul. Let your soul be strong and let your soul grow stronger. Let it strengthen your soul by strengthening your faith and devotion. Know that your Creator sees you as a Sabr, the enduring, loving servant, with love and pity, and will make amends for every moment of sabr that you have endured. In summary, what I've said is that nobody is granted everything in life. We all suffer some sort of deficit in wealth, in health, in social standing, in whatever area of our existence we might experience a deficit. That deficit we as a dynamic society have to confront with might and main. We must go for it. We must apply ourselves. We must wage war if it isn't a human enemy. We must defend ourselves. If it is within ourselves, we need to improve ourselves. So the dynamism has to be applied. the activism has to be applied firstly. But should there be no activism and no dynamism and no revolutionary action that brings or delivers change, then it is then. And if we are unable to migrate or change the situation, then we choose to endure with spiritual, and strengthen our spiritual connection to Allah, knowing that what we are experiencing is taking place under the guarding or guardianship and wakeful eyes of Allah, and that we are presently being chosen for pain by the Almighty, and that the Almighty is never unjust, and whatever pain is visited upon us will be repaid and will be redoubled in the form of a recompense, if not in this world, then in the year after. And that is the concept of Sabr in the Holy Quran. Shukran walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.